Give them a shot to do what?
All right, fun pod today. Got my man Adam Lewis from NFL with AGL stopping in to
AJL, brother.
What did I say?
AGL, but it's okay. I have to tell you before
JL.
we got
I'm
on,
sorry,
but it's okay. It's okay.
My bad, brother. You know, I have a GED, man. I don't know what to tell you, man. I just and it's dyslexic. Whatever excuse I can make to quickly move on from this gaff at the beginning, first 30 seconds of the show. AJL. My bad. Adam Lewis is here with us. Please follow him at NFL with AJL for those forgive me. But I don't have him in here to talk NFL. We're gonna do a little Eagles-Cowboys stuff a little later. Really have him in here to help me break down some of this college football weekend stuff, and we'll get into all that and more next. Hopefully, I'll get his name right next time. Sports. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Stuff About Sports, presented by the Give Us a Shot Network, powered by Fast Break Coffee, and sponsored, as always, by the haters. Shout out to y'all. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, do one of those things. If you can't do any one of those things, I'm going to assume you are indeed a hater. Shout out to the first timers, last timers, and all the all timers. Thank you for rocking with us. All right, I'm fired up. I got Adam Lewis from NFL with AJL. We did a show the other day. Please go check him out on YouTube. It was fun. You can catch him usually on Tuesdays. I think you're doing a show on Friday this week too, right? But generally I usually see you on Tuesdays. But please go subscribe to my guy. Hit up his channel. I'll definitely put it in the description and go learn something. He's very smart and he knows what he's talking about, which is very refreshing out here in all this space that we have. There's a lot of guys that like to come on here and talk, which is what I get accused of a lot of. But yeah, it might be true. I don't know. Adam, what's up, man?
Great to be here, bro. As you always know, one of my favorite shows to be on. Crazy week one in college football. So as soon as I saw college on the lineup, I was like, oh, it's going to be one of those shows. And obviously the NFL's coming up as well. So just been back deep in the content, man. Very happy to be on and just cross-pollinating each other's brands, brother.
Absolutely. Watched a lot of college football this week, and I'm not admittedly not a huge. I'm definitely a casual, and I'm being generous with that term. I once the playoffs and everything starts, I'm just one of those guys that didn't want to watch Alabama versus Troy on a, Saturday morning or whatever. So, but I do understand the love for college football, and so I watched a lot of it this weekend. And before the NFL dictates the rest of our moods for the next 2 weeks, let me ask you, what to you was the biggest story from the college football weekend?
Biggest story from the college football weekend, obviously Manning's debut was huge to see. First road start, first season opening start, first start against a ranked opponent. Best team in the country, clearly. Best defense in college football, national champion. So it was crazy, but not crazy to see him struggle. Obviously, Bill Belichick's debut in college was insane. Did not expect it to go that way for him. And then you have Alabama just coming out and absolutely wetting the bed. Feels like we're watching a dynasty crumble before they even get a chance to prove themselves. So I know you asked for one, but that's kind of the three plays that I go to when I just think about arguably one of the best opening weekends in college football we've ever. I don't know if you know, man, between Texas and Ohio State, it was only the second time ever in the AP poll era that two top three teams opened up the season. So, like, we're talking about something that happens once every 7,500 years, So it was just awesome to witness it, and just be locked in for those coming months of the best sport known to man.
Yeah, I know Texas and OSU had like the highest rated college football game on opening weekend like ever. I mean, a lot of that had to do with a defending champ. And like it or not, people are just invested in the Arch Manning story, right? They want to see this kid, what he's going to do, a lot of the hype, which I understand. Like, listen, man, I'm not one of these guys that, you look at like the Bronnies, for example, like, oh, you can't say he's a 56th pick. Nobody talks about it, or a 55th pick. Nobody talks about him like that. I'm like, yeah, but not every 55th pick was also LeBron James's son. Like, you can't have it. You can't treat him like a 55th pick and not realize he's also LeBron's son, which is why we're talking about him. The same goes to Arch Manning. It's like, yeah, he had 2 starts. Why is he getting all this hype? Why is he doing? Because he's a Manning, bro. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, he's a Manning. Like, it's I don't know. We're not talking about a normal guy. Shout out to my girl Danielle, man. She's great. She's been holding down the show for a while, so I appreciate her. Yeah, we're talking about a Manning, and people are interested one way or the other. They either want to see him fail or they want to see him succeed, right? And you're going to tune in either way. And if we're being honest, man, it didn't start off well, right? Like, I could easily, or I can confidently say, like, he kind of sucked, right? His footwork wasn't where it needed to be. I don't know if it was jitters. Like, I mean, it was a big moment for him, right? It's a big moment. But in terms of a starting quarterback, he missed what I would consider in football terms layups. He missed a lot of those. Game changer.
That was the bad part. I feel like that's all he missed was simple throws, some intermediate throws down the field that he didn't get. I'm like, oh, okay, we can live with that. This is this kid's like first real introduction. Like, you're playing Ohio State, the defending champs, the best team, the best defense on the road. We expected some mistakes, but I mean, right. You saw me do some film study on it. Over the last few years, it's like there were so many missed layups. That's what makes it feel so bad. And with your last name being Manning, we're all going to hold you to the cross before you even get a chance to become possible.
Yeah, 100%. But that's part of the game, right? Like, especially if you're going to be in the spotlight, like, you got to, if you're going to shoot arrows or you're going to say something or you're going to be in the spot, whether that's fair to you or not, people are going to bark 100 times louder if you fail. And not bark as loud if you succeed, right? Because people don't want to see people succeed. People don't want to agree with people. People want to argue with people. People want to see people fail. They want to rub it in your face. That's just the way it is, fair or not. And you know what? And again, I get it, man. First time jitters, and then he made that one play, the one score that they did have, the deep ball, which is what you're enthralled with, Arch Manning. When you see that type of play, like he can make those plays at any given moment.
That's the Arch we were expecting.
And if he made some of those what we call layup throws, maybe they would have won the game, because for all the flaws of the offense, from what I've watched, the defense actually played pretty well. And I want to give credit to OSU, Adam. Maybe Arch isn't as bad as we thought. Maybe he didn't look as bad as what we saw on TV. Maybe OSU was just that nice. What if they're just that good? Like, so there's that element of it too that you have to kind of, accept. But I don't think anybody really watching it expected that type of game. Maybe we expected Arch to play a little better. I certainly expected him to run the ball a little bit better. I think he only had like 10 carries for less than 40 yards. He just made some bad throws that I wasn't fully expecting. But again, they lost 14-7. So it wasn't like they got blown out. This wasn't like they got told. They didn't get embarrassed, I should say. Not like some of these other teams that were ranked very high. They only dropped to 7th, which is, again, considering everything considered, not terrible. Like, they can inch their way back up. I know 12 teams make the playoff, but you can inch your way back up into that top 4, top 5 conversation with a loss like that. I mean, this is not a make or break. Whoever lost this game wasn't exactly going to miss out on the college football playoff. But since we're talking about it, because it's more fun to do it this way, if you had to guess who would be more likely to miss the playoffs, because as you mentioned earlier, Bama got embarrassed. They dropped all the way down. I think they're out of the top 20, right? Like, for the first time since like 98 or something crazy.
I think Bama's number 21,
somewhere like that. But who's more likely to miss the playoffs, Bama or Texas?
When I saw this question on the lineup term, I'm like, wow, is this really even a question? This is like asking who's the better quarterback, Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen. We know the answer. It's Jalen Hurts.
Well,
you're talking about Texas or Alabama, who is going to really miss the playoffs based on how they both look this weekend? It's 100% the Alabama Crimson Tide. Were they an overranked number 8? Yes, absolutely. But when you talk about snapping their home season opening win streak of 23-24 games. It was the best in the league outside of Ohio State, who obviously they just beat Texas. They extend theirs on as well. But the fact that Kalen DeBoer looked so lost, he was so outcoached by a guy like Norvell, who just rebuilt his and defensive coordination systems, and he went out, made some great hires, and it clearly showed. And they stifled Kalen DeBoer, they stifled Ty Simpson. The only positive from Alabama in that game was Jeremy Bernard. But then when you take a look at Texas, again, they were playing the defending champions. Ty Simpson has more experience than Jalen Milroe does. Ty Simpson, the quarterback, has been a quarterback with Bama for the last couple seasons. People forget that Ty Simpson was one of the first starting quarterbacks to come out in 2023 for Alabama. And then obviously in came Jalen Milroe. But speaking of, Texas, again, like Ty Simpson has more experience than Arch, but you're Texas. Yes, you're at overhyped number one, but you're playing on the road against the defending champs, against the best defense, against Matt Patricia, who you heard JT Sports on my show say it, made it an absolute nightmares for Arch Manning. And we never thought it was going to be like an Arch Manning coming out party, but the stakes were much higher for Alabama to be embarrassed this weekend than Texas, because kind of like you just said, it doesn't knock Texas necessarily out of the college football playoff. And if there was any game to lose, like it was that one. Oh, God forbid you lost to number 3 on the road. Like that's not going to be viewed as heavily by the committee as an unranked loss to a Florida State, who was the first team ever to turn around an AP top 10 opponent after losing 10 games the prior season. So like the stakes were just so incredibly high for Alabama to lose. This is also the 4th unranked loss for Kalen DeBoer already in about a fifth of the amount of games that it took Nick Saban to lose 4 unranked games. So it's easily Alabama, and I am locked in to watch what Alabama's going to do here, but they have a date with Georgia in Athens on the 27th. And boy, if it's an Alabama thing, it better be dispelled that day, because the way that Kalen DeBoer looks right now,
yeah. So when I looked at it, so again, I'm viewing this from the eyes of a casual fan, and I'm just so used to Alabama taking 1 or 2 L's every year, especially the last couple of years, and somehow finding themselves in the college football playoffs because they're Alabama. And I don't know, man, like it's Texas. I feel like there's that air of, well, see, we told you. I feel like Alabama is more likely to get the benefit of the doubt, specifically if they kind of rack up a couple of wins there. Yeah, right. Jalen Hurts is not better than Josh Allen. I'm screaming. I can't believe he said that. Oh no, he knows why he said it.
I'm dead ass serious, dude.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
There's not a chance.
Exactly
There's
why I said it. Yes,
not
sir.
a chance. Not a chance. There's no way. I mean, there's not. I don't want to get derailed.
Look, I got him flustered. I got him pivoting off the rundown.
Honestly, because there's nothing you can tell me that you think Jalen Hurts does better than Josh Allen. There's nothing tangible, bro. Like he doesn't throw better. He's not a better athlete. He doesn't run faster. He doesn't have a bigger arm. Like you're looking, and this is the problem with the Eagles fans I have. And I know you're doing it to stab me, and that like you're just twisting the knife a little bit. And I know you're doing that.
For that Drew Brees video.
See, the thing is, I didn't say, I hate you. I didn't say JJ McCarthy is Drew Brees. I said if JJ McCarthy, his play style reminds me of Drew Brees. That is totally different than saying that Josh or Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback in the NFL than Josh Allen. That to me is nonsense. Danielle says Texas, and that's my team. And so that was really my point. Was people are so quick to, I told you so about Arch Manning, that I think that even if they take, because I am of the belief they're not going to run the table, they're going to lose a game, maybe 2 more games. And I think if they, depending on who they lose to, they will fall farther than Alabama, and Alabama will rise more, depending, because they're Alabama, because they're just, it's the brand, right? Like Arch Manning he's a name to me right now, but he's not a brand. He doesn't have any signature wins. Right. He doesn't have any history. So once he becomes a brand, now if he goes in and maybe he plays another top 5 team or a top, and plays the way that me and you expect him to play, maybe that can change. I'm just only basing it off the one game I've seen so far. And if they continue to play like that, and Alabama racks up some wins, I can easily see a scenario where Bama sneaks into that top 12 spot, especially if they're at the top 20. There's plenty of football left. They can, we've seen it before. We've seen them jump almost damn near 10 spaces in the last week of a football season for, because Ohio State or some Penn State took a bad loss at the end of the season. And it's always those like weird political shenanigans that happen.
Oh yeah.
Which is why
losing college football, it's always earlier in the year, because if it's a less recent loss, the committee moves the goalposts every year, right? Like we saw it when Jordan Travis got injured, got an ACC champion for the first time ever. We'll never have a conference champion. Now they've changed the rules this year, but we'll never have a rightful conference champion that goes undefeated, not making it into the playoffs. So yeah, the committee loves to move the goalposts, but again, this was the time to lose, and Texas took a way better loss than Alabama did.
They think because he won the Super Bowl, he's the best QB, and he's not. He doesn't even throw the ball like that. Yeah, he only had 20 attempts in the Super Bowl. Nick Foles had 40. That's a Super Bowl MVP. Nick Foles, greatest Eagles quarterback in Super Bowl history. I mean, shout out to Nick Foles. Where's Jalen Hurts in the top 100? Was he top 5 like the rest of the other quarterbacks we're talking, like Josh Allen? Where's Jalen Hurts?
Hurts on the top 100 for real though, because I was shocked that Saquon came in at 1. Not that it was undeserved. Where did Hurts come in at? Top 100?
38.
38?
Yeah.
That feels low. Like, I'm not saying he should have been a top 10er, because you got guys like, here's the thing why I can't really justify where someone should or shouldn't be in the top 100, because you're comparing a running back to a defensive end, to a safety, to a corner, to a line. You know what I mean? Like, but if you're in the top 100, you're one of them ones, no doubt. Basically take 2 52-man rosters. That's like taking 2 teams in the NFL and creating the 2 best rosters, So like, I definitely give it credit, but it's just kind of hard to justify, because like, is Saquon really the best player in the league? Or are we just overvaluing a crazy season because he broke Terrell Davis's all-time scrimmage and rushing record throughout the regular season and playoffs, which is hella impressive.
Right.
You know what I mean? But is Saquon Barkley off of 1 year like that, off of 1 2,000-yard year, immediately the best player? I mean, he won OPLY, so I'm not mad at him, but it's just funny how they kind of quantify those top 100 lists.
Yeah, and in a vacuum, the list really doesn't mean anything. But I think part of what you're saying is true. I think it's a mixture of he had one of the all-time great seasons and didn't win MVP because he's a running back, and then 2, he's being rewarded for having to deal with being in New York and kind of being run into the ground and having that talent that we saw at Penn State. Right, you know what I mean? So like, I think it was a mixture. We're rewarding this guy for excellence, and on top of that, he had one of the all-time seasons, and we're going to reward you for that. Again, and you're right, being in the top 100 is an achievement. It's more fun to poke fun at Eagles fans because Jalen Hurts outplayed your quarterback. I'm like, what did Josh Allen play defense? Quarterbacks can't outplay each other. I hate that term.
Yeah.
I hate when people say it. It's dumb. It's dumb. Anytime anybody says it, it's just dumb. And but
it matters, but not as heavy as some people try to drive it home as.
They make it seem, it's like what Josh Allen or like Patrick Mahomes is a good example because they played each other in the Super Bowl twice. What Patrick Mahomes does has nothing to do with what Jalen Hurts does. Like that, right? So there's not the mere term he outplayed Patrick Mahomes twice. No, he didn't. He just outplayed their defense. Like and one time they won and one time they didn't because the Eagles offense just wasn't good enough. And then it's funny, they'll bring up the 2022. Oh, they made a Super Bowl without Saquon in 2022. I'm like, yeah, but they still had a top 3 defense and they still had a top 3 offensive line and they still had a 1,200-yard rusher because the system is that good. And because Jalen Hurts wasn't good enough as a quarterback, they lost.
Right.
And then, I don't know if you guys know this, you didn't cryogenically get frozen and wake up in 2025. You played in 23 and 24 where they didn't have a prolific offense, and Jalen Hurts had to be a quarterback and actually lead a prolific offense. And guess what happened, you guys? He couldn't do it, which is why they went out and got Saquon and had to readjust the entire offense. And I never once said Saquon was bad. I said he's not as good as what you guys are trying to. He's winning the Super Bowl doesn't put him above these other guys. Winning the Super Bowl doesn't change where he's viewed. He was always a fringe top 10 guy. And you could argue him somewhere 5, 6, all the way up to 12.
Right, 5 to 8.
Right. And I had him at 8, and NFL had him at 9, and I think Pro Football Focus had him at 7, which is not anything different than what I said. They're all in the same. And that's the hilarious part of me beefing with Eagles fans. Now I'm just doing it for fun. I'll be in Philly September 11th for the Mets Philly September 11th game. So any of you Eagles fans that want to come and try to debate me on this live, we'll be on camera. We'll be on radio. We'll be everywhere, and bring it. I'm not scared. I don't talk tough on the internet and not talk tough in real life. I don't talk tough at all. I just speak the truth because we have a monopoly on the truth here. So I just wanted to get that out of the way.
No, I love that saying, the monopoly on the truth. And yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like when it comes to saying, oh, this quarterback outplayed this quarterback, I'm right there with you on the logic of that. And because they don't have to be mutually exclusive, two things can be true at the same time. When people just go back to, like, I was literally talking with a new friend of mine the other day. We were catching a cocktail about a week ago, and we were talking about, favorite sports players and stuff. And I told him I love Jalen Hurts, and he goes, I don't like Jalen Hurts. And I was like, why don't you like Jalen Hurts? And he goes, I don't like his play style. And I was like, that is so crazy, because that is literally the crux of everyone's argument, is that he doesn't put up the stats like a Josh or a Joe or a Lamar or a Mahomes. But when he's fucking winning, why does he not get credit for that? And now when people want to be like, oh, he's not better than him, he's not better than him, got to have some accountability for when they play each other. So you know what I mean? Like, two things can be true at the same time. And it's, Jalen Hurts, the most interesting quarterback debate, I think, of the modern era, because of how the game is changing. And I mean, soon enough, if you're not throwing for 4,500 yards instead of 3,900, which is probably the average nowadays, like, are you even going to be looked at as a top 10 consensus guy? So stats definitely matter. Numbers never lie. But I think when you watch snap for snap, when you watch tape, when you watch what these guys are doing, specifically Hurts games, just giving him the credit. But I've literally been a Jalen truther since his Alabama days, when Georgia chance and Tua was brought in for Jalen because Jalen was benched because he looked so bad in the first, and then watched it happen the very next year, vice versa. So like, I've been tapping on bro for a while. So to see him just get this level of even just discussion at the national level, like, but an actual discussion, and brother's got a Super Bowl MVP to show for it. Yeah, I'm gonna back him the whole way.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, Danielle says that she had him in his QB last year. You want to hear the irony? He's in one of my leagues. I have him as my quarterback in one of my leagues. So I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here. Again, it's not enough that I give Jalen Hurts flowers and try to keep it real about where he's at. But the Eagles fans want me to give him the whole garden. I'm not going to do that. The reason why he's not getting the credit that he deserves is, like you said, it's the stats. They'll say, oh, he didn't have to have those stats. Yes, exactly. Because he's part of the system. That's how the system allows. It is not in the Eagles' best interest for him to throw the ball more. There's a reason for that. And again, I'm not going to give him more credit than he deserves for not doing as much as another quarterback has to do. That's not his fault. It is the front office's job to look at the strengths and weaknesses of their quarterback and build a team around them. And the Eagles built the perfect team around their quarterback, where he doesn't have to do as much as some other quarterbacks. Again, that's perfectly fine. It creates winning, obviously, but I'm also not going to give you the same credit that I'm giving Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, because you were simply part of the system, and those guys are the system. And maybe if those front offices were a little bit better, yeah, Josh can do a little less, but Josh is responsible. They just did an unbelievable stat where Josh Allen is responsible for 87% of the team scoring by himself. By far leads the league in the NFL. Is that and look how successful they've been. Is that enough? Clearly not. But
right,
that's the way they have
to be Superman
every time. And he's rising up to the occasion. But then he'll get punished for having a bad game, even though he's, you know what I mean? Like, he'll get punished for having one bad game, and then everybody's like, oh, see, I told you. But they don't think about it, where he like literally does everything for that team. Again, Jalen Hurts is not asked to do that, and that's for a reason. That's what Eagles fans are missing. I'm not discrediting him for being a winner. I'm not giving him credit for being one of those guys. And I'm been validated because he's not. They just rank. There's 7 other Eagles players ranked ahead of him on the list. You can't be elite when you're the 7th best player on your team, man. Sorry. Yeah. Like if you're an elite.
Is that fair to say, though, with how stacked the Eagles are?
Yes.
Even if you're elite because your teammates ahead of you are better, you're not allowed to be viewed as elite because they're ahead of you?
Why do they have 7 better players than you on your own team? When you think of
the stacked, Howie's a god.
Right,
22 of their starters, 21 of them were drafted. 21 of them were drafted, bro.
That's cool.
That is unheard of.
But if we're naming the elite quarterbacks, and we're talking Josh, Lamar, Joe, and Patrick,
we know the big five. Yeah,
we know and then the big five, and then even but okay, so you got the 4. When you start listing their teammates, how far do you go down before you get to their name? It's not past 2 for most of them.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, depending on how you like it, that's the only one to me that's arguable.
Right, and then you're throwing Hendricks in third.
Right, and then with the Chiefs, it's Patrick, and then who? Chris Jones on defense, right? And then Josh won the MVP with Mac Hollins. Jalen Hurts has AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. Like there's levels. And again, whether that's fair, you want to say that's fair or not, it doesn't matter. The reason why they're like that is because they know Jalen Hurts can't. We haven't seen him. He has one 4,000-yard season. He has one game last year where he threw for over 300 yards. That's again, that's not to me when I think that's. But
look at the crux of your argument right there, bro. You're playing right into it because he doesn't have the numbers. You don't think he's a winner, and that's just something I can't.
No. He's a winner. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not.
Excuse me. I didn't mean to say winner.
He's a winner.
You're wrong. The correction you're about to get.
But he's not. That doesn't make you tier 1 elite, where I can put you like Eagles fans will sit there with a straight face and tell you they think that Jalen Hurts could have taken Josh Allen's Bills team to the AFC title game like Josh Allen did. That is false because we know what he's done. We've seen him not make the playoffs with his Eagles roster when they don't have all the best things around him. So I don't know. This whole thing turned into a Jalen Hurts. I wanted to talk Carson Beck real fast because one of my bigger things was Carson Beck validation game, right? Said Miami allowed him to fall in love with football again. He was loose and free compared to what he called the weight of the world at Georgia. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because obviously based on your background and where you live and your fandom allegiances, big Georgia guy. So I was very interested about your response to Carson Beck. Basically, I'm going to call it a shot. He took a shot at Georgia saying maybe they're too rigid. Maybe they don't allow their players to be as free and open. But what do you think of Carson Beck's comments? Or did you see him at all?
Yeah, I'm very glad you brought it up. I thought Carson Beck had a pretty fair debut against Notre Dame. And, his defense actually showed up and showed out for him a lot like it is Georgia. And, I think Carson Beck is probably going to have a solid year because the ACC is a respectable conference, but it is not obviously what the SEC is. Give me just a second. I'm trying to screen back with you here. It's obviously not what the SEC is. And his SEC experience is going to give him a lot of success in the ACC, no question about it. But we're talking about the same Carson Beck that threw 3 interceptions in the first half against the Texas Longhorns that got bailed out by the Georgia Bulldogs defense. We're talking about the Carson Beck that threw 7 interceptions in 3 games. That's what happened when Kirby Smart opened the playbook to you, Carson. Are we really to compare Cristobal to Kirby? Show me the natties. Show me the appearance. Show me those win streaks. Show me that defense.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I get it. He's saying all the right things. His Lambo got stolen at the beginning of the year when he transferred to Miami. His girlfriend came with him. Like, let's not forget, is the Carson Beck we're talking about. Like, talking about the guy who was pulling up short in games. Yes, he had the receivers with the drops in the country. Nobody in college football last year dropped more passes than the Georgia Bulldogs. And Carson Beck, yes, was a 27-game winner, 4-game loser at the University of Georgia. But let's not sit here and act Carson Beck was not given opportunities to be bigger than he really was, because I believe once that playbook opened up, I literally remember watching it, Jerm. I was like, Carson Beck has thrown like 7 interceptions in the last 3 games, and he turned the ball over himself like 4 times in the Alabama game. We were still able to come back and we lost. But you know what happened from Mike Bobo, the OC, and Kirby Smart with their coaching? They closed that playbook up. Carson Beck. It was a lot of run game. It was a lot of short stuff over the middle. It was a lot of simple stuff because they knew Carson Beck could not take the weight of the world at the University of Georgia and make big throws when needed. You know what I mean? So it's like, I didn't even think about that really or him. until you brought that up, like watch the Miami Notre Dame game, great game, loved it going to wire, loved the fact that, Notre Dame was able to really power back into that one being down 21-7. And I even possibly was going to have a segment on the show about, do I even want to talk about Carson Beck's performance? He was 20 for 30, a little over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, did Kirby Smart fumble the bag? No, not be that recency bias with it. I know that's not the right way to say it, but I know you guys get the message that I'm trying to come across. So yeah, I thought it was interesting that he had this comments because Carson Beck knows exactly what happened last time Kirby Smart and Mike Bobo opened up that offense to him.
Let's switch to UNC. It seems like we've been talking about losers all night, but I feel like there's just been the most
support the haters.
Yeah,
haters and losers.
So haters and losers, like Bill Belichick. It looked good on the first drive. It did, and they had all the stars out. Everything was looking good, but they ended up. That was about the end of the night there after that first drive. Everything else went wrong for that team. I don't know what people were expecting in year one of Bill Belichick doing
never
college
football before.
Never coached college football ever in his life. Just to set it up for some of you guys, 70 new players on the team. I do believe in a 3-year sample size coming into college. You need to assess your team. You need a year to figure it out, to get used to it. Then you need a year to figure out what went wrong. And then the third year is when you finally get your guys in place and you set your system, hopefully build on continuity. So I'm not expecting big things. I don't know if the college is going to give him that leash, but what would be a fair grade to you about Bill Belichick's coaching debut at UNC? And how do you think he did?
You're such a man of wise words, Jamal Edwards. Such a man of wise words. What is a fair grade for the GOAT Bill Belichick in his first college football game coached? He's never coached college before. I would say a fair grade, fair considering the numbers I'm about to give you, I would say a D.
Yeah.
I was going to lean maybe C, but listen to this, Jerm. So obviously TCU just absolutely handled UNC 48-14.
Right.
UNC 2 hours without completing a pass. UNC was outgained by 320 yards. UNC had 50 net yards on 28 carries compared to giving 258 net yards on 35 carries to TCU. UNC had 172 passing yards to TCU's 284. 2 defensive touchdowns from TCU. 4 fumbles, 2 lost, obviously, from UNC as well. But the biggest things, Jerm, this is what levels about how Bill Belichick is really in over his head right now. It was the most points allowed in an open in UNC history. It was the most points ever allowed by a Bill Belichick-led team. That goes back to the NFL.
Yeah.
The most points ever allowed by a Bill Belichick-led team. TCU scored 41 unanswered on the way to the route. Actually went up 7-0. So, I mean, a fair grade, I would go with a D. The scrimmage was absolutely owned in this one well. And again, when you just have the turnovers, the sloppy execution, and I think the most points allowed ever in a UNC opener, and it was the most points Bill's ever let up while being at the helm of any team in his career. I mean, that's very alarming. So, yeah. I got to keep the facts. You have a monopoly on the truth, or you guys do rather on the show. So I'm going to stick it a grade of a D.
Yeah. I think most coaching legends always face these type of challenges when you deal with this amount of roster turnover and such a change, right? Luckily, he has his girlfriend there to translate to all the youth. I mean, this guy's 70 years of age. His 24-year-old girlfriend can translate, youth slang and youth, emotions now. These kids are built different than they used to be back in Bill's day, back in the 20s or whenever he was a child. And so it's interesting to see him. Honestly, I think he handled himself fairly well. And I do agree with you. With grace, I'll give him a D. I know a lot of people say it was a failure. I'm not going to overreact. And that seemed to be the theme of this past weekend. Just a gross overreaction to losses, wins, blowouts, college football. Things happen. It's the first week. NFL's coming up. We're going to see some blowouts by some teams that probably shouldn't get blown out. And by the time we get to the end of the season, nobody's going to talk about it. And so
right.
UNC could be perfectly fine. I think this was the best thing for them because I think they came in, oh, Bill Belichick's here. Oh my gosh, Michael Jordan is up here. All these people, all these,
MJ in the press box.
right. It's like all these stars were there for the pomp and circumstance. But now that it's
It was like
over,
Colorado's opener with Deion Sanders.
right? You know what I mean?
Against
So it's,
TCU.
yeah, which is hilarious. Now that it went better. It went better for Colorado.
That game was actually a banger. That literally
Yeah.
put Shedeur Sanders into the NFL spotlight. That game alone.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, that was like a 48, 42, 43 game, something like that.
Passed for like 500 yards. I mean, he went off. Shedeur,
Yeah.
that's probably to date still Shedeur Sanders' best statistical football game.
1,000%. So, shout out to Belichick. I'm sure it'll work. I'm sure it'll work out. Again, it's hard. I don't know what people were expecting with a 70 person roster turnover like that. It's
Right.
just, I don't know what people are expecting there, but I get it. I get it. For the guys who do the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick legacy power rankings. I guess this is a win for Tom Brady, but I think Bill did okay.
Yeah.
We did a lot of Eagles,
bro. You basically got to think your roster turns over really every year now with the portal, right? Like you get in the NFL, you work hard to get these contract extensions. Now there is the fine line of you're coaching kids versus you're coaching grown men. I believe when you get to college, you're kind of already as a young man, maybe not a grown man. You're between 18 and 22, however it's going to work out. But college is tough, bro. I mean, we saw Saban go to the next level and he looked horrible, but he's the college football. It might just be the thing here for Bill Belichick.
The other thing about college is, and they still have power over you in college, right? Like they still, I mean, yeah, with the portal, you can just leave, but you've seen it with the guy, the quarterback that went to UCLA, didn't have a great debut after he made all that noise. What's his name? The quarterback, I can't remember. I know I can see his face, but we see it all the time. Players can just up and leave, but it doesn't really work out for them. At least, in college, your goal is to get to the NFL. So if you don't play your cards right, you can kind of derail that. And obviously, if you play for a program or play for a coach who has quite a name, a lot of relationships, we've seen how that can kind of go the other way for you. Lastly, I know we did a lot of Eagles just about a few minutes ago, about 20 minutes worth, but we do have NFL football kicking off. And so we have Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles starting off September 4th, Thursday. What a great game to start the NFL season. Interesting offseason for both teams, I would say. But for this game specifically, who do you think this is a bigger game for? Because it's a division game, so it is a big game. You only get to play each team twice. So every win within your division is important, especially in a division that people are anticipating to be kind of tight in terms of, the top three teams and then whatever you think of the Giants. But who's this a bigger game for in your mind, the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles?
I think it's undoubtedly a bigger game for Philadelphia because Philadelphia comes out and for whatever reason, I don't care if AJ, Saquon, Jalen, Lane Johnson, and Cam Jurgens all go down with injuries within the first couple snaps. Like if they lose this football game, this will be the most disappointing loss in Philadelphia Eagles memory, probably bigger than when they went to the Super Bowl because of the precedents. Saquon Barkley just got named the best player in the league. Jalen Hurts is still being discussed as a fringe top 5, 10, 12 quarterback, wherever you want to put him, but obviously the accolades are in place. They just came off of the historic season with one of the biggest Super Bowl wins, one of the most historic season that Saquon just had, the most points ever in a postseason, the most ever in a championship game, one of the biggest leads at one point in a Super Bowl. Like everything is stacked up. And the Cowboys just traded their best player. Yeah. So like if Philadelphia loses this football game, like the toxic Philly fans will come in and they'll be doing all sorts of crazy shit like they just didn't win the Super Bowl 190 days ago. Mm-hmm. But I think this is unquestionably a bigger game for Philadelphia because they're trying to continue setting records. I just talked about it on the show yesterday. Philadelphia is going to be looking to absolutely dominate, just decimate the Dallas Cowboys best they can. Jalen Hurts is going to have so much time. I believe that offensive line is kind of just going to be really comfortable now that the presence of Micah is not there. And it's like, who is that real light of fear on the pass rush? And I think it's going to be very tough. And for the most points they've ever scored season opener, which is 42, I definitely think they can surpass it. They're going to go for the biggest margin of victory in a season opener. They're going to try to have the Cowboys give up the most points ever, which has been 37 points, I believe, in a season opener. So it's like they're going to be going for all of that. So if Philadelphia drops this, it is undoubtedly a bigger game for them and a bigger loss for them. You're looking to continue the streak after you lost a few games and you won 16, 17 games in a row to go on and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I can buy all that. I do understand your argument, but for all those reasons, honestly, I think that's why it's a bigger game for Dallas. I think Dallas has more to prove. It's easy to say Philly because, it's easy to be the champ, or it's easy to get momentum. It's harder to keep it. So I think if they want to prove people wrong in that scope, I can see why somebody would think it's Philly. But for those reasons you mentioned, people are already expecting Philly to be one of the top teams in the NFL. They're one of the most bet teams to get to the Super Bowl again in Vegas. There's a lot of bets against them, against the Chiefs, a lot against my Bills. Like they're the consistent NFC team representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. And I think their roster is stacked. They have aliens everywhere. There's no expectation of Philly because they've already reached the Super Bowl. Nobody's expecting much. Everything else now is icing on the cake. So to me,
you're just building another cake at this point. The cake's already baked, and the cake is waiting for a slice.
They could crater this season, and it's not really going to change anything. It'll be disappointing, but not really. They just won the Super Bowl last year. So nobody's going to say, really anything if they don't make it and win the Super Bowl this year. Like, I think everybody's fully expecting to make the playoffs. Dallas, on the other hand, had a whole offseason of just bullshit. The Jerry Jones, the Micah Parsons trade. You have Dak coming back from injury, who was playing at an MVP level. So now he has something to prove. Did that injury just derail your entire career? Or are you going to get back to a top 5-ish quarterback somewhere in the class picture? But before he got injured that season, he was undoubtedly one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL. He was the runner-up for MVP. Can he get back to that? They lost Micah Parsons, but they gained George Pickens. They gained some stuff. They got to work out the running game a little bit. They got to work out a little bit of the defense. Even with Micah was suspect, but the secondary is good. I'm interested to see how they're going to do against AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. Run D's not going to be good, so obviously Saquon's going to be a huge threat for them. But I think this game is bigger for Dallas in the sense of this is a can we hang game, right? If they go out and get blown out by the Eagles, their season is done. I mean, from the jump, like there will already be, wow, Jerry, you done messed up the season before it started by trading your best player, and you got blown out by the division front runners. You don't belong. That will get into the player psyche, and it possibly could derail the entire season. Now, if they lose the game, but it's close, then that's fine. To me, that's a moral victory. But imagine if they win. The win. If the Eagles win, it's not a big deal, right? Because it's expected. If Dallas wins, Adam, that's a whole. Now Jerry's vindicated. There's more. There's more for Dallas to win than the Eagles to lose, which is why for me this game is bigger for Dallas because it kind of justifies Jerry, and then it validates Dak and the team, and it kind of puts Dallas on that NFC map. Where they're fighting maybe for a wild card with who we think is going to be there in the wild cards with Atlanta or Tampa Bay, depending on how you feel about the NFC South. And just a couple of those, like the Packers, right? Like it's going to be the Packers or the Lions. Like one of those 2 teams are probably going to win the division, and then you can't sleep on the Vikings. So like which team is going to have the 3 teams from the same division in the playoffs? Like Dallas can easily enter that conversation with a good performance. Even if they lose, if it's a good performance. But if they get blown out, man, it could be over before it really, really, truly began for her. So that's how I think about it.
No, great perspective, bro. Great perspective. That's really what it's all about, bro. You know what I mean? Having perspectives on these topics, having them go away. So no, I'm right with you. I can see definitely where you're coming from.
I'm hollering. His girlfriend can translate. He's disgusting for that. I don't think a 70-year-old man coaching my son who has a 24-year-old girlfriend. My kid is 22. It's weird. I mean, listen, we're not going to, hey, you love who you love, man. Who am I to get in the way of love? It's weird to me. That's strange. If my daughter,
it's very odd. Is there a life insurance play or something like?
Yeah.
What do we
hey,
do?
Listen, shout out to her. I mean, you do what
on
you
up her
do,
own
but
play. She learning from the goat of play drawing to draw a play. Like, what are we doing?
I don't know. Listen, man. That's a 50-year gap. That's weird. It's very weird. Adam, do you have a game ball? Did you want to give out?
Yeah, man. Just game ball to week 1 of college football, bro. It was one of the opening weeks. I guess game ball to the NCAA, a great schedule that was really already planned out a few years ago. I think this is arguably the greatest opening weekend of college football that I ever witnessed. Games everywhere. The top matchup between Texas and Ohio State, the Arch Manning headlines, Florida State, Alabama. I loved it, dude. So game ball to just the NCAA. I think we're going to be tapped in, locked in. Another great college football season. And I just can't wait to keep making content around it, bro.
My game ball is going to go to my New York Mets player, Juan Soto. Didn't start the season off very well, but he is on pace for 40 home runs, 30 stolen bases, 100 RBIs, 100 runs. Yeah, it hasn't been done this century. That like Barry Bonds did it. Jeff Bagwell did it in 96 and 97. Jeff Bagwell did it in 97, 99. So, I mean, we're talking major history. It's actually a shame that he's not one of the favorites to win NL MVP, but we'll talk about that on another time.
Dumb. I don't even like baseball like that, but that's stupid.
It's because he started slow and they're rewarding the guys who have been consistently good. But
yeah,
the problem is where he's at now, these last 25 games or so, is so much bigger and better than what anybody has done all season. He's basically had a season in 25 games that these other guys have had. And I don't know what Vegas is doing. Maybe they're lining us up for the slow play, but what Juan Soto has done over the last 25 games, I mean, I think he has like a .30 batting average, 12 home runs, 28 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, 1.19 on OPS. Like it's disgusting what he's been able to do. So he's definitely turned around the opinions of people who were kind of doubting him at the beginning of the season. Like I said, admittedly, was not good. He did not start good, but he has been probably the best player in baseball for the last month and some change. So shout out to
it was huge when I remember when you brought him in. I was like, that's major for the Mets to land him, because Soto was kind of like that hot commodity in the offseason.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yep.
So yeah, shout out to him. Shout out to college football. Shout out to the NFL. Not shout out to Scott Hansen, you bum. Commercials during a red zone. Communist. We're communists now.
He was so chill with it. We had decode. He was like, the new intro will now be 7 hours of red zone football, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah,
you didn't say CF, bro. Where's that commercial free?
They were like, yeah, Scott Hansen, I don't make those decisions. Hey, bud, you're the face of red zone. You are going to get these bullets. You're going to get these bullets from me. You have some say.
Hold out. You better hold out. Be like, I don't even want a new deal. No commercials. The fans know me for my face.
Right.
For 420 straight minutes. No commercials.
Yeah. Now we're going to have commercials, which is, I don't know. But anyway, hey, thanks, Adam Lewis. Reminder, scheduling update. Tomorrow we'll be on for a few minutes because Bert is making his triumphant return to the pod. So we'll do a short Eagles-Cowboys pregame show. But the main event will be the first drawing for our Bucket of Doom week 1 and catching up with Bert, obviously, because he's been out. So, yeah, football. Love it. More football. Put it in my veins. Sell out Scott Hansen. Burn in hell. And yeah, when you get there, say hello to Art Briles for us. Thanks.